Hey team, welcome back. I'm Diggs on Twitch, and today I have a donation deck list thanks to Thomas Hepp, also known as Negator77, obviously the nicest guy in the Legacy community, if not the Magic community, and also a very good Depths player. Has given me a donation deck list with pretty much an open check, which is really nice. So I've chosen to play a Depths deck that I haven't played in a little while, which is Green-White Depths. So Green-White Depths still plays the Dark Depths package of Dark Depths and Thespian stage. Unlike the black variants, you aren't playing Vampire Hexmage as another way to combo off, but you are getting to play cards like Knight of Autumn, which is pretty sweet. So the deck does have a pretty good plan B. The big issue is that from the get-go, I think that there are other Depths variants that right now are probably better positioned. And I think that if you're on the right Depths deck, like Rainbow Depths at the moment, you don't really need a plan B. The Depths plan is just so good right now that I think I would rather have kind of an all-in strategy on Depths than have sort of a 70-30 on a Depths plan and then a plan B plan of playing a mid-range deck, because I think that if this comes down to it, then we'll see how this goes as a mid-range deck. But I really just enjoy it. I think it's a great deck to play. It's really enjoyable. It plays some of my favorite colors, which is nice. And you still can just get some wins from Dark Depths, which is great. So the difference between this deck and most others is, as I said, there is a plan B. This is playing Mox Diamond as well, which is kind of old school right now. A lot of decks are playing Lotus Petal. Don't really have, you know, something like Sylvan Library to play and hopefully draw cards off. Not many Green-Black Depths versions, other than the Slow Depths version we played against last night, plays Dark Confidant anymore. So recouping the card advantage from the card loss of Mox Diamond isn't something we really see. So this should be pretty fun. This deck does have a bit of an issue with go wide strategies. So it is splashing black for sideboard Plague Engineers, which I really like. This is kind of Dom Harvey's list that he played with Jarvis Yu on stream in September last year. I've just made a few tweaks, hopefully for the better, especially with cards like Felidar Retreat. I'm not a big fan of Felidar Retreat and Maverick, but I think in this version, where you do have more of a lands play, I think that's a great way to play against some of the snow decks that are probably pretty well positioned to deal with Dark Depths, either through Swords to Plowshares, blocking with Ice Fang, then Okoing it, or Teferring it, or even just Caracas. It's good to have a bit of a plan B with Felidar Retreat. This deck is playing a pretty large amount of lands, so I am pretty happy to see that in this list. I have gone for just some one-off creatures in the board. Ramanap's an interesting one because Ramanap sometimes is a little bit overkill. You have to get it to stick. You have to have something in the yard that you really gain value off for getting back. But I do think it's worth it as a Green Suns target, especially against the other Wasteland decks. And just the ability to recoup Dark Depths and Thespian Stage each turn is really nice. I think you could probably make a more explosive version with some sort of exploration element to the deck, so either through explorations or through Dryad of the Elysian Grove, just be able to recoup more than one resource from the graveyard each turn. I think that's where Ramanap really shines, and I think without that, it's not as good as it can be, but I still think it's okay. Knight of Autumn and Collector Oof, just for some of the unfair combo matchups that play artifacts, or for some of the fair decks that do, like Death and Taxes. Scavenging Ooze as just the third piece of graveyard hate in the board. We do have a Bojuka Bog in the main deck, but I did want to play something other than Leyline, so I'm going to go with 1 Scooze and 2 Surgicals. I just like the Scooze because I can find it off Green Suns and also Once Upon a Time. And this deck does run, you know, a high amount of green sources, so Scooze itself could take over some games, especially against decks like Hogak, so pretty cool to see that. I'm running a Thalia in the board. I did have 3 main deck, but I do like having Gaddock Teeg in the main deck because it is just a bear I can find off Green Suns. And I think that's a lot better than Thalia number 3. Allosaurus Weapon's also an interesting one because it makes most of our spells, other than Thalia in the main deck, uncounterable, which is great. Especially with Crop Rotation, which is obviously a high risk, high upside, or high reward card. But in this deck, with cards like Flagstones, and of course Allosaurus Shepherd, we get to kind of change that to being a low to medium risk, high reward card. So I do like what Allosaurus Shepherd and Flagstones of Trocare does to Crop Rotation in this deck. because obviously if it gets countered, it's a 2-for-1. But if you're sacking the flagstones, you're getting a land anyway, so it definitely mitigates the loss from getting your crops countered, which I really like. So that should be pretty cool. That's pretty much it. This will be interesting. I feel like it's got a pretty rough game against Delver, especially in the main deck, because we don't have obviously any creature removal and have to just go for the Dark Depths. And if they do have something like Wasteland, it can take some time to set up a way to kind of play around it. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I really like this part of the deck because it makes it very consistent, which is awesome. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. This will be really fun. Yeah, the challenge tomorrow night would be interesting because it is a Saturday night for us. And I think it starts about 8, so it's not too late, which is kind of nice as well. But let's get into a league and see how this goes. A huge thank you to Tom for setting this up, because it's always nice to get a donation deck list, especially from someone of his stature. Good at in-game. Nice. Play a league. I hope I chose the right deck. I didn't actually see if I did. I assume I did. I guess we'll see. Sometimes Magic is a little bit different. No good. Okay, there it is. Green Black Depths. Jack says stop. Hammer time? I can always drop a league. Yes, Jack, thank you. But thankfully it does say Green White Depths here, so hopefully that could be good. Up against Mozzaball. I feel like we played against Mozzaball a few times on stream, so this should be pretty interesting. I'm not too sure what they're on. Yorion, okay. So this hand doesn't have either piece of the combo, but it has a pretty good curve, which I'm probably pretty happy to play with. So I'm going to keep this. Yeah, it has a lot of nice value, and going Safekeep into Thalia is really nice, and then having Once, of course, as a first spell to cast is pretty awesome. Tundra. That makes me think this is probably an Esper Vial Yorion deck. Sylvan Library is pretty nice. I'm going to Once first. I'm not going to play a land. Wasteland does look kind of nice here. I do have Green Suns to find Elvish Reclaimer. And the ability to hit my opponent who's gone to 4 cards. They kept a 5 card hand, so I think here I'm pretty happy just to fire off this Wasteland. But I'll do it in their turn, just in case they are playing something like Stifle. I might as well Wasteland in their upkeep, so that if they do have Stifle, they have to use it in their turn. Brainstorm's gonna be fine. I'll let the Brainstorm resolve, then I'll Wasteland. I can also go for basics early on if I really want to, because I can play around Wasteland, of course, with Flagstones as well. That's pretty nice. Opponent found a fetch land. Okay. I don't have any black cards in the main deck, so I'm just going to go the Forest into Safekeeper. I could also Green Suns here for Dried Arbor, to then next turn go Safekeeper and Sylvan Library, or Safekeeper and Thalia. But I kind of like keeping the Green Suns. In case I draw one piece of my combo, the Green Suns represents Elvish Reclaimer, which can get the other piece, so... Yeah, Flagstones has even popped up in Modern a fair amount, so it's a lot more expensive than I thought it would be. Just gonna 6 here. Okay, maybe this is... Well, there's one piece, which is nice. So I think here I'm actually pretty happy just to go for Sylvan Library over the Thalia. And I'm not too keen to attack here into an Icebank Quaddle. I don't think I'm happy to trade the Sylvan Safekeeper for another 1/1, so I'm just going to pass. Oko is going to be an interesting card. Sort of Fire and Ice. Interesting. So they look like a Bant deck. I think here I'm pretty happy to take all 2, 4, 6, 8. So I get to play a land and then play something else as well. So I am just going to pay. I think it's just going to be Flagstones and then play Thalia and Reclaimer. But there's also a part of me that just wants to go Once Upon a Time instead of Thalia, because then it costs our... it makes the crop rotation a little bit more as well. I also have Green Suns for Allosaurus Shepherd, which I really don't mind here, especially against a blue deck. And with the Flagstones in play, I'm pretty happy to sack that. To keep one of my creatures alive with Sylvan Safekeeper. Yorion in hand, okay. That's going to be more than fine. Well, there's one piece. So put on top, put on top. Which makes it pretty easy, because now we also have Allosaurus Shepherd online, so... Plains comes into play tapped. I think it's just play Dark Depths and hold up crop rotation, because then we have the mana anyway, and also Allosaurus Shepherd means the crop rotation isn't counterable. And then next turn, if they play Yorion, we can just use Elvish Reclaimer to go and get Step to give protection. And opponent just doesn't really have anything, which is pretty tough. We did see, so they're looking like a 4-color deck that's playing a sword, so I assume it's got a sword, a Stoneforge Mystic package, which is pretty interesting. Yorion. I probably don't want the Teeg, and the Thalias are probably not their greatest. I'd probably rather have some amount of removal instead. I do like the look of either of these. I do like the thought of some number of Swords to Plowshares. Plagues are interesting because they do look like they're in the Icefang Quaddle realm of decks. So having a way to deal with Icefang without actually spending a card on it is pretty relevant. So I don't mind going for some amount of Engineer and then just a Knight of Autumn. Because in a Yorion deck, they're probably playing a lot of creatures with ETBs, which just get them generating value. So I don't really want to be in a position where I'm spending Swords to Plowshares on a creature that's already gained them a card. I'd rather be spending a card that hopefully deals with what they have in play, and then make my opponent have to deal with that creature as well. Otherwise, everything else looks pretty normal. There's some thought to Collector Oof, but I think just the Knight of Autumn is going to be fine. Felidar Retreat's also interesting, but I could also see a possibility of seeing Surgical, but I'm going to run with this and then see what happens in game 2. This is an interesting hand. Pretty slow one, but I don't mind it. I'm going to keep this just to see how it goes. I haven't had too much experience with the deck as of late, so I would like to keep a number of hands and see how they actually plan out. And this one isn't too bad. Okay. Reclaim is actually a really nice draw, and I think I am just going to play it out here. I don't have anything like Tomic in the deck, so I'm pretty happy just to get a Forest here. And play out Reclaimer. I guess if my opponent is playing Uro, then there is some consensus if we lose this game to bring in Surgical. But I think here I'm just going to build up my mana. Because I can sack the Flagstones to get extra value off it, which is really nice. Toxic Deluge, X equals 4. Interesting. We will still use this. I don't mind the 1-for-1 trade here. So we get to sack the Flagstones. The Flagstones triggers. We go and get a Savannah. That's fine. And then the ability triggers and we go and get a Thespian Stage. Now this is pretty interesting. So I can either act like I have the combo here, or I can try to go for something like Green Suns for Safekeeper, which I don't mind. I'm not going to play the Dark Depths yet. I'm going to play a Wasteland. And then to be fair, I could also go for another Green Suns, which I don't mind because it gives me a little bit more interaction. Because next turn, I probably just want to go for Dark Depths hold up crop rotation. I'm just going to get another Elvish Reclaimer. Seems fine. I don't need the Allosaurus Shepherd because I don't really need the crop rotation. And seeing my opponent just played a board wipe in Toxic Deluge, I'm happy building out the board again. I don't believe my opponent's going to have a second one straight away. Dak's gonna be okay. Interesting. So this is more like a kind of Stifro pile with Yorion. If it's playing Dak, I'm gonna assume it plays... Hey, Lynn Chalice, welcome, hope you're well. I'm gonna assume it plays the new Hull Breacher card. They dropped a Stoneforge. They played a land. Okay. Knight. So I can attempt to kill the Dak if I just make the Dark Depths combo here. I feel like that's okay. I feel like getting rid of the Dak is getting rid of 2 extra cards that they could draw into. So if I make the combo, I then have crop rotation up if I need it. It also makes Elvish Reclaimer a 3/4. It doesn't play against... it does play against... it does play around Caracas nicely because we have the Sylvan Safekeeper. So I actually am just going to go for it here. I'm going to go for it like this and hold up crop. I think getting rid of the DAC is worth just going off its sorcery speed here. Opponent also at 16, so with a fetch going to 15, they don't have Oko into life gain as an out. Uro isn't an out either, so thankfully that went pretty well. We had some pretty nice hands. They curved out really well. With this deck, I do have to go a little bit slower than Rainbow Depths, and that worked out considerably well. Obviously there I didn't go for the Dark Depths straight away. I went for the Sylvan Safekeeper, and then we got the Reclaimer out, and it did its job, which is cool. Sylvan Safekeeper, just a really good piece of protection because it saves you from everything from Caracas to Oko to Swords to Plowshares to Fairy Bounce. Just a really nice, really tough card to beat, especially once your Dark Depths opponent has got out a bunch of mana. That the resource of the land is so much better to use as a protection spell through Sylvan Safekeeper, so it's just, there's so many to use, which is pretty nice. Beer of choice tonight is a Stone and Wood Pacific Ale. It's really good, especially up here. It's kind of it's a little bit overcast in Queensland. We just came into lockdown, so we have 3 days of lockdown, which is tough because I had a plan for my girlfriend's birthday, but that is the least of our worries right now. I think if anything, we are ones who are in a very good position compared to others. So yeah, get the weekend at home, which isn't too bad in the whole scheme of things. Might even play a challenge tomorrow night. But we did stream last night. We played Green-White Maverick. And then tonight, of course, Green-White Depths. Or Green-White Black Depths, if you want to count the Plague Engineers. But yeah, the challenge would be cool. I don't play too many challenges. I'm not a big fan of staying up, but it would be cool. It would be cool to see how I go. They're pretty appealing, especially the new ones which are on Saturdays for Australians, or at least Saturday evening around 8 PM, which is pretty cool. I know that the Jig is Always Up has played a few, and I believe done quite well in a few. Up against Slod. Alright, we'll take the play. This is quite an all-in hand, but I don't mind it. Again, I haven't played this deck recently, so I would like to see how this unfolds, so I'm going to keep this. The question is, do I want to lead on Mox or hold the Mox? And I kind of want to hold the Mox for now. I don't really have anything to accelerate into, so I am just going to go for Wooded Foothills Pass. I guess if I'm worried about Wasteland, I could just play the Savannah because, to be fair, if my opponent is using Wasteland on Savannah, I really don't mind. Volk Pass. Interesting. That's another good reason not to cast the Mox, is now that we have Once Upon a Time up. I kind of feel like my opponent is holding up Stifle, so I don't want to cast the Once Upon a Time if they have Daze, because they can float a blue and Daze this, and then if I go to Fetch, they can use the blue to stifle the fetch. So I'm going to go Savannah first, and then cast this without using anything. We do find an Elvish Reclaimer, which is kind of nice. We also find a Thalia, which is pretty good. It puts us in the similar situation where they can float blue and Daze, but I actually don't mind Thalia here, especially against a Volk. So I'm going to go for Thalia. I'm going to cast the Mox Diamond and pitch the other Wooded Foothills. Play Thalia. And they're just going to force this. Force pitching force. Okay, still not giving too much away. Interesting. Knight's pretty good here, I will admit. The only the only thing we don't have is a land that comes in untapped. Which means we can't really play around days here. I'm gonna play Depths and Pass. And then we do have Crop Rotation open if we need it. So maybe there was some consideration to drop the Bojuka Bog to the Dark Depths. But thinking of Dreadhorde Arcanist, I did want to keep the Bog for as long as possible. Uro. I am going to fetch now. And interesting. This puts them up to 21, but I still think it's worth going for crop here. If they have another force, then that's fine. They do, wow. Force, bitch, stifle. So they did have stifle. Interesting. Alright. Oh, that's actually interesting. I definitely rather the Mox here, though. So I am just going to... Sorry, Bojuka Bog, because of the Uro, so I am just going to go after them. Hey, Slasher. If I fetched in Upkeep, I could make the 2020. Interesting. Ponder into nothing. I wonder if that was a shuffle. They chose not to shuffle. Okay, that's even more interesting. Ha! Windswept Heath. Okay. I guess to play around Stifle again, I'm just going to cast this Mox. And then drop the Windswept. And now I can play this Knight. Slasher, you are more than welcome to join us in in Australia. Brainstorm, okay. Well, that's interesting. But they don't have anything to follow up. Huh, okay. I kind of want to take my opponent off the Trop here. But I only have the Savannah to actually drop, which is interesting. So maybe I should have actually thought about the Wooded Foothills more, because I only have one resource at the moment to drop to this Knight. I believe we have a Canopy. We don't have a Canopy. Okay. Rider deck. I'm just going to pass here, and then their upkeep, Wasteland the Trop, Hull Breacher. Yikes. I guess I could have made the 2020 then, if I wanted to play around the Wasteland. I kind of think I just have to take them off this Trop, unfortunately, just to try to keep Oko off the table, because if Oko hits, then it's definitely game over. And it also keeps Uro off the table, which is nice. Stifle. Day's Undoing. It's pretty good. another Stifle, wow. This is going to be tough to come back from. Oh, wow, they got the Bolt? Yeah. Easily over. Rough. This is going to be an interesting one. What did we see? I probably like the extra Thalia. The Ramanap does seem pretty good in this matchup. I can't do much about the Days Undoing shenanigans, so I kind of just have to not take it into consideration. Which is pretty tough, especially on the green-white version. We're not as fast as the rainbow or like a turbo depths variant, so we can't just go under them. We have to kind of fight on their front a little bit. I don't think this is a matchup where I want Teeg. I probably want the Thalia instead. Shepherd seems pretty good. Safekeeper seems okay. I'm going to assume they're running Submerge. I probably don't mind Knight of Autumn, but I'm not too sure what I actually want it for. I'm not sure what to expect from this deck. Swords is interesting, even just to have some interaction against the Dreadhordes or Hull Breaches. Could be even the Mox Diamonds, but on the play they seem okay. Especially to get something like a turn 1 Thalia down. I think that's what I really want to try to achieve. It might just be a bit of fluff, like the once. I'm probably going to regret not bringing in some amount of swords, so I feel like I should. It might just actually be a Green Suns. As odd as that sounds, I don't think there's one creature that I'm really going for the Green Sun, so I don't mind that. And the once can be a little bit better than Green Suns, especially with a deck that's going to be pushing my mana a bit. This seems okay. Basic into Shepherd and then just hold the Mox. Ponder, okay. That does mean the Knight's coming down as a 4/4 next turn, which is huge. They chose not to shuffle, which is interesting. So let's go for cast Mox. Pitch the Bayou. And then play Flagstones. Hey Squall, thank you very much. That's really nice to hear. I hope you're well. That's cool to hear you like my videos. I like your support. Where upper match we played against. How can I forget it already? Something cool. What did we just play against, chat? It was like a Urion. I'm going to say it was a 4-color Urion pile. And now we're down a game against what looks to be whatever this is. It's going to be... I think someone said Styphro pile. It could also be the Pokepile deck. There's a few different variants right now that are running around. Even Arnzi's deck is something to consider. This is fine. Okay. It was 5 color because it had Stoneforge, correct. Alright. See if this works. Stifle, okay. Well then I will use this to fuse once. Probably just want a wasteland here. Reclaim is actually pretty nice. Hey Moz. Hey, I really like the brew. All power to you. I think the real plan here is just getting in. And then probably just wastelanding the Trop in their upkeep. I mean, if you have another Stifle, so be it, but at least you're using the mana in your turn. Nothing, okay. This is what I kind of like, because they're obviously in a position where they're trying to be a little bit defensive with the Wasteland, but yeah, they just don't have a way to actually beat the board, which is how you got to adapt sometimes with Depths, because we saw that they had a pretty good plan against Dark Depths with Stifles and Wasteland, so thankfully a Knight just comes out on top, which is pretty cool. Running back. Let's quickly look at a Pokepile list. If I do just put them on Pokepile. Which I assume is under Snowco. Actually, I think what I can do is look up Stifle as a card here. And then see what it's actually played in on the side, which I really like. Decks using Stifle. Here we go. Dark Depths, Snowco, Temur. It's probably between these. We've mainly just seen the Stifles so far. It's always hard to pick. What does chat think? Is there anything that I should change on the draw? Is Mox Diamond a card that I could consider trimming? Or is Mox Diamond the card that I need to accelerate out on the draw to kind of keep up on par? Because, you know, on the draw, something like a turn 1 Thalia or a turn 1 Sylvan Library seems really nice. There's some thought to Surgical, but I think the Sword's just a little bit better. I'm going to go down on 1 Mox. There's some thought to Crop Rotation as well, because we can't always be there, but... This is a Mox hand, which is nice, but it doesn't really have anything else. It's just mana, so I'm going to mulligan this. This is a bit better. I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to bottom the second stage. I'm not sure if they run a Braid, or if they would run something like Return to Nature, which is really nice, because it does give them a lot of flexibility with how they want to use it. I'm actually just going to go for Flagstone's Pass, and then next turn I can play a fetch land. I can play a Mox and put another card in the bin, so I can nearly get the Reclaimer to a 3-4. I don't want to play the Reclaimer as just a 1-2, especially with this hand where I have really nothing else. I'm pretty happy just to play it a little bit safe. feels like an Arcanist. Okay. That's a little bit problematic. But Thalia does do some work at slowing them down. So let's do Mox. Pitching Dried Arbor. I don't mind just play fetch land, get a basic right now. I'm not going to play the Reclaimer. I'm going to wait one more turn. Interesting they didn't attack. And to me that makes it feel like they don't want to go down to 17. Maybe they have like some sort of plan. I'm just not sure what it is. Crop is nice. I'm going to play the Reclaimer. It's going to resolve. I'll then play Stage because it's one piece of the puzzle and pass back. I feel like there's not even a Brainstorm. Wow. Wasteland's okay. Oko. Oko's a little bit rough. Okay. This is probably fine, because we do have the crop rotation we can cast now to get Dark Depths. And then I can Wasteland their Wasteland to make sure they don't have interaction. I don't think I want to like crop here for step. The Thalia really helps here, because I don't have to worry about counter magic. Hey, Shade of Hades, or Shade of Hades. I'm just going to go for crop in response. I get to sack the flagstones as well, which is nice. So I'll go and just get a basic. And then crop into Dark Depths. I think Sylvan Safekeeper would be the best draw, but... Attack Oko. No blocks. Play Wasteland. Wasteland your Wasteland. I can't really make it now because of the Oko, so I do kind of have to make this into Stifle, which is pretty rough. They can also gain life. I'm going to copy my forest. There's a crop, which is interesting. I was thinking about step as a way to do something here, but it's not going to work. Like step, give probe, and then they can just block the other creature if they really want to use Oko. Interesting. They have 3 cards left. So I think because I can't beat the Oko, I have to try and do something else. I mean, I don't mind putting them trying to get at least 1 hit in, because then they can maybe turn on my other ones. And we do have 1 piece of the combo back up here, so... There's a second crop, okay. Let's go... I guess just to make sure, I might as well swing both at Oko. We can step, which is nice. I could have swung the 3 at them to put them at 19. But then they go back up with the food. They're going to fetch here to actually eat the food. So that makes me think they don't have something in hand to beat it, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I kind of think I hit them as well. We'll see what happens. Narset's going to be okay. Yeah, I think there I should have just taken more time on thinking about my attacks. Stifle's going to be more than fine. I guess Stifle does turn off my ability somewhat. This is actually pretty interesting because now I have a turn where I can nearly just go for step. With, on the Reclaimer. So the question right now is, do I have the ability to just go for crop into protection on Elvish Reclaimer? They would have to fetch to do something which puts him at 20. So I think this is my chance to just kind of go for it. Crop rotate for step. They can't really stifle because that still puts them down to 19 and then Merit Liege is just free in the air. Yeah, so I think the way I win here is just going for crop, step, give Elvish Reclaimer pro red. Wow. Nuts. So they didn't have Submerge, which does make sense because a lot of the depths decks have moved away from having forests in the deck, but I still think it's a relevant card for the kind of team of matchups. But yeah, luckily we got there. For some reason, when I saw the Oko, I just immediately assumed that the Merit Liege was turned off. But of course, making it an end step and then attacking the Oko does get you somewhere. So a nice little hole to dig out of. But to be fair, my opponent also got pretty unlucky with those Dreadhordes. They played a turn 2 Dreadhorde and didn't really do anything until a turn 4 Oko, which included not even attacking. Very interesting. Two interesting decks, but I'm going to assume it was Pokepile, just for the record. I have a million pens, and I can never find one when I need one. Alright, one sec. Nice. Hey, Mozzaball, if you are here, what do you call your deck? Is it just 4-color Yorion? All right, here we go. Victorious champion. Last seen playing Snowco. Interesting. This is an interesting hand. It has a turn 1 Reclaimer with a Bog in hand. Hey, Alex West. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a nice week as well. Thanks for coming in. Alex, what do you think of this hand? We're up against what I think is Snowco. It has a turn 1 Reclaimer. It has a once to find, hopefully, either Dark Depths or Thespian Stage. It has a relevant land in Bojuka Bog. It has a Flagstones, which hopefully we can sack to the Reclaimer. Pokepile? Okay. Same sort of jam. Let's look at the list. I kind of want a Mox Diamond hand. Maybe that's pushing it.